Baltimore has the unfortunate reputation of being one of the most crime-ridden cities in the country. But in 2025, that seems to be changing. Look at this graph published by Baltimore City Police. So far this year, violent crime is down 18%. Property crime is down 15%, and murders are on track to be the lowest they have been in more than a decade. So the question is, what's changed? Who's responsible for this improvement? And how long can this transformation actually last? I'm Matt Delaney with the Washington Times, and to find out, we drove up to Baltimore to speak with top law enforcement officials who are in the courts and out on the streets. We're here with Baltimore State's Attorney Ivan Bates. Ivan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, violent crime is down massively year over year. We're talking homicides down, shootings down, non-fatal shootings, I should say, rapes, robberies, carjackings.
Yeah.
What is the one thing your office has done to contribute to that decline most?
I'd have to say, first and foremost, is the partnership and the mentality. You know, when I was sworn in to be state's attorney January 3rd, 2023, we came out and said we're going to focus on violent crime. And then we also said that if you're going to break the law and you have an illegal handgun, bring a toothbrush. What we tried to say is we set the tone. And the tone said that no longer we're going to sit down and just give individuals who are repeat offenders a pass. We're going to send them to jail, hold them accountable, send them to jail, get them off the streets.
Just a block away from the state's attorney's office downtown, I visited the office of Baltimore City Sheriff Sam Kogan. Sheriff Kogan, who took over the office in late 2022, says he wants his deputies making their presence felt out on the street.
We've added boots on the ground to patrolling in the city, where that hasn't happened before in the sheriff's office. So pretty much every weekend and on evenings, on Thursdays and Friday nights, we'll have sheriff's deputies out patrolling certain neighborhoods and taking on a policing function, which has added a level of policing to the city that wouldn't have been there had we not done that. You know, we've done major events like the Fells Point Festival, which is a 3-day event where like 30,000 people come a day, they drink in the street and have a good time. There's bands playing. And during the time we were deployed in those areas, protecting that festival, other than the police department, we had 0 911 calls or emergencies when that was happening.
This is I would say, generational decline in crime. It might be the first time since 2011 that the city sees less than 200 homicides a year. But of course, as I'm sure you hear all the time, still kind of an ever-present anxiety about crime. You know, it's that perception.
Yeah.
You talk about that perception as reality. Where do you think that comes from?
Well, it comes from everybody living in the community. Now, I think there's, without a doubt, people feel and can see that there are fewer murders because you don't see it on TV every day and things like that. We have other issues that have popped up and they live in those neighborhoods. Some of the nuisance crimes. You know, my predecessor did not prosecute individuals who did quality of life crimes. One of the things that I also did January 3rd, 2023 is say, hey, the police can do that. You know, we're under consent decree, so how's that done with the consent decree? One of the things we're able to do is we're able to go ahead now and write citations. Even today, I just came from a press conference where the General Assembly has given the authority to the Sheriff's Department to be able to enforce nuisance crimes around liquor stores, liquor establishments, bars, any area that's selling liquor.
So people's perception of crime is the reality, right? And so I think the city in general and all the players in the city, the state's attorney, the police department, the sheriff, everyone is focusing on like the violent crimes that are occurring. And those are important, like to get the homicide rate down and the robberies down is incredibly important. But also it's like things like getting your package stolen, like really matters to people like your car window broken, being panhandled aggressively, right? Feeling safe to walk up and down the street. We're still working on that. And as a major city, we really have to focus on that, like the livability of the city.
I know juvenile crime is also the hot topic. How
Sure.
does the kind of, I don't want to say rampantness, but just the presence of juvenile crime, how does it challenge that sense of safety that people have in the city?
Well, one of the things about juvenile crime is that we don't really know what's going on and the public doesn't really know what's going on. It's really nuanced. Like what they might do for one child is going to be totally different what they do from another child. And so you hear like, this kid got picked up and he got let right back out. That's upsetting to people. They don't want to see that. They want to see people be held accountable and they want to feel safe.
In the state of Maryland, when a child is arrested, their case is not sent to a judge or to the prosecutor's office, but to the Department of Juvenile Services. Privacy laws within the system prevent the public from knowing
what kind of punishment that child will receive. And according to State's Attorney Bates, those decisions, which are made behind closed doors, can sometimes forget about public safety.
You talk about the system is not operating as it should. I know DJS, the Department of Juvenile Services, is the name mentioned often. Are they arranging? Are they organizing the system? Who's necessarily pulling the levers that are putting these kids back out on the streets that may not need to be?
We had about 131, I think the first few months of this year, we had 131 young people, juveniles, who were arrested for what we call the felony types of crimes that would warrant that D-ray score. 31 of them were held, however, 100 were released. And so they may be released on an ankle bracelet or they may be released on some other form. You know, that's like 23%. You know, it's very low.
Yeah.
So these young people are then going right back in the community, and some of them are doing that same behavior. On the adult side, we knew there were about 5,000 violent individuals that are pulling the trigger in Baltimore City, maybe 5,000, 6,000. And we need to take as many of them individuals off the streets as quickly as possible. We've taken about 2,500 of them off the streets, so that's one of the things that help to show the reducing crime. Also with the services, individuals will now have an opportunity to do different things to receive the service instead of going to jail. Juvenile is totally different. DJS is supposed to give the service to the young people. However, they don't have enough programming for the young people. And so it is a revolving door with the young people. And young people have the sense of, you know, they're invincible. They can do whatever they want if you don't give them the guardrails and the checks and balances. It's not about locking up all the young people. However, young people have to understand there must be accountability and they must be held accountable.
While city officials have a bird's eye view of changing crime trends, there can often be a disconnect between statistical safety and perceived safety. In other words, do Baltimore residents feel safer? This is Taco Adufe, local business owner and lifelong resident of Baltimore.
Crime's down massively in the city year over year. Homicides down, rapes down, shootings down, carjacks, robbery, the whole 9 yards. But are you feeling it though? Do you feel like it's safer in the city?
I do feel like it's been a little bit safer in the city. It's been, I've lived here for downtown for like 4 years now.
And are you from Baltimore?
I'm from Baltimore, born and raised here, east side Baltimore. I do think that it's gotten a lot better over the recently, at least since last summer, from what I've noticed. Like that comfort level of walking around the area, moving from downtown Inner Harbor area, you know, walking their dog at night if they get off late, those kind of things. I see that a little bit more frequently now as well. So
who are you giving credit to?
Who am I giving? I have no clue. I have no clue who to give credit to, actually. What I do know for sure is that I gauge the criminal stuff and the stuff that we deal with in the city, not just based on my experiences, but what I hear from my other friends and how comfortable they are if someone broke into their car at night, or if they're parking out here in the alley, if, you know, they're running into people sitting in their car, that kind of thing. So I think I'm hearing less and less of those frustrating stories, so it's saying something.
City leaders have helped drive violent crime down, and maybe more importantly, people are buying into what the data is showing them. Only time will tell how permanent this public safety revival will be, but for now, there's reason to believe that Charm City is heading in the right direction. For the Washington Times, I'm Matt Delaney. To read more, visit WashingtonTimes.com.